Alright, back here part 2, Stihl 360. These clutches are reverse thread, so right is loose, left is tight, so they basically self-tighten. So when you take the clutch off, I use just an impact driver. And you basically got to give them a couple of bumps and they'll come right loose. They really had an issue getting one off. Like I said, they are reverse threads, so just keep that in mind. Here's a better picture, or a better view rather. In an earlier video I was telling you about the driver for the oil pump. This is your oil pump. What drives it is this wire, and this one's got a little nick on the end, probably from the previous clutch failure. And then of course your oil line there. So a lot of junk gets back in here, so it's a good idea every once in a while to pull this apart and clean it out. It's just not good for the clutch to be spinning in all that mess. So that's your oil pump driver. It slides out. This has a screw on it, and that's what drives your oil pump. It's a good idea to check this too. If you have an oiling issue, sometimes these threads will be worn out. This is just a plastic material. And this is what drives your oil pump. When you put your clutch on, that sits in there, and that's what spins your oil pump. So make sure if you have any oiling issues, you check these things to save you some money from taking it to a shop and getting charged no telling what for something you could potentially do fairly easily with minimal mechanical knowledge. So here's the clutch to come out of it. Lots of grease and grime on it. Not too much wear, but the springs seem really weak. My initial thought behind that is that the springs have probably just don't hold the same amount of tension they should. And how this works, as the rotation spins, the weights pull these apart, and that's what bites. If it's a good tight clutch, especially on a bigger saw, 50cc up, you shouldn't be able to really wiggle it much. There shouldn't be much wiggle room that way, back and forth. This way, yes, but not back and forth. So it takes very little force to pull that apart. There's not a whole lot of clearance in here when this spins inside your bell. So as it spins, it expands, bites to this, and that's what spins your chain. Some of you already know this, but for those who don't, just kind of a quick, short and dirty how that works. So when these get wear on them, sometimes it's outer wear. You can usually tell by how it's worn, by how much gap is gone here, this direction. There's a good bit of wear on it. I'm going to suggest replacing it if he wants it fixed right, because it's out of round. If you notice, this gap is worn down almost completely, this edge. I'll show you what I'm talking about if you can see it on camera. This edge here is worn down almost to this lip. If you rotate it, you got more of a lip there, distance from this little ridge to that lip, and then it's worn down here also. That's the part that flies out and grabs first. So that makes it somewhat oblong, just not completely concentric, completely round. So that can also give you some issues as far as how quick it spins up. But I guess I'm gonna give him a call and give him the good news: the band's fixed. But the bad news is, I think the last when the band broke, it got in here and ate his clutch up, and/or damaged the springs, because it's just not. It's not got the force it should, holding itself together, the springs. So I think the springs are shot, and with this amount of wear, you can replace just the springs, in all honesty, for the extra work. And by the time you order the part, it's just as easy just to replace the whole thing, and then you know you have that issue checked off, and then it'll probably last the life of the saw, depending on how much it's ran. This guy's pretty hard on equipment. He cuts a lot of hardwoods for for grilling and things. I think he does some kind of fruit wood, hardwoods, hickory, things like that. So it's hard on saws. Apple is hardwood. And anyway, just a quick little tip: how to check your saw out. Do a little maintenance. Like I said, it's good to pull one down every once in a while, especially if it's got some age on it, or you bought the saw second hand and you're kind of unfamiliar with the condition. To check these things, you don't want to run it dry with oil. You know, a simple 15-20 minute taking one down and checking it might save you burning up a bar and chain, burning up a clutch, those sort of things. So it's a peace of mind if nothing else. And there's not a whole lot to it. So I appreciate y'all stopping in with me today. If you would like and subscribe. If you don't want to subscribe, at least like or dislike or comment or all the above. The only way this channel gets better is with input from the viewers. So that is you. So if it's terrible, tell me. If there's something you want to see, tell me. As I've mentioned in several other videos, as I get actual internet, and it takes close to an hour plus to load up a 10 to 15 minute video. So I'm signed up for Starlink, so hopefully we'll get that, because where I live I have nothing other than my phone. So that being said, it's hard to get in depth and cover as much as I want to cover when I'm so limited on space and internet speed, just because of this time. So we'll be back with some more builds. We've got a couple of 500i's, one shipped out today. No one's sitting here on the table right over there. And I don't know if the customer wants anything done to it or if it's just going to be stock. Yeah, that might be in the future. And hopefully the 661 parts will come in before long. One of my customers, a tree had rolled over a saw, and it busted the case pretty bad. And it's a magnesium case on the 661, so it's a little difficult to fix, just, you know, weld. So whenever we get the case, we're going to port it, big bore kit, go all out on it, custom muffler. Should be a nasty little saw, and I think you'll like it. So there's a lot coming. Like I said, it's just a little slow right now because of the internet situation. But hopefully, Starlink will pick me out of their group of folks, and we'll have some decent internet for long. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.